What your art says about you as a person, Part 1. This first part will cover the level of realism in your art style. If you draw pure realism like this piece, you're probably one of two people. You're either a chill, friendly paint water drinker who just genuinely loves doing realism, or you're an elitist who hates manga, anime, kids' cartoons, and anything fun. Either way, if you do realism, you're probably really detail-oriented, and you notice a lot of the little things in people. Next up is this semi-realism, semi-cartoony style. I don't know what it is, but anybody with this sort of art style is like the kindest person in the world. You're just really sweet, and probably shy, and probably insecure about your art, even though you shouldn't be because it's amazing. Now we're getting to the actual exaggerated cartoony style. If you draw like this, you're probably really fun to talk to, you probably grew up loving Looney Tunes and you love them even more now. And lastly, if you have a super simplistic cartoony style like mine, you grew up with early YouTube and it shows. Be my best friend now. What your art says about you as a person, Part 2. This part will cover art supplies, namely your favorite art supply, or the art supply you use the most. If your favorite art supply is just plain old pencil, you're a simple person with simple needs. You don't like complications. If your favorite art supply is markers, you're probably a digital artist. From what I can tell, if you use Copic markers the most, you tend to lean more towards type A, and if you use any of the knockoff brands, you probably are more type B. And overall, you just like time efficiency and bright colors. On the other hand, if your favorite art supply is watercolors, you are unbelievably patient and probably really shy. If you use lots of black ink, you're probably really edgy and chill and cool, and I want to be your friend, but I can't approach you because you're too cool. If your favorite art supply is acrylic paint, again, you like efficiency. Colored pencils, you're super detail-oriented and probably really organized. Charcoal, you're a realism artist. Oil paint, you're definitely a realism artist. And if you just love to sketch in ballpoint pen, you're a daredevil and I love you. What your art says about you as a person, Part 3. This part will cover stylization. You're probably thinking, didn't you already do that in the first part? No, that was level of realism. This is specifically what you stylize in your art. If you draw characters with huge heads, you're afraid to grow up. If you give your characters huge eyes, you probably cry easily. You're probably really emotional in general. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if you draw tiny little dot eyes, you don't take yourself too seriously. If you don't draw noses, you hate really small inconveniences. And same thing if you only draw noses with like 1 or 2 lines. If you put a lot of emphasis on your character's ears, like giving them big monkey ears, you're probably so kind. And the same thing goes if you give your characters really big hands and feet. If you draw hair really flowy, you're probably the quiet friend. And if you draw your hair more spiky, you're a fucking nerd! If you bring a lot of attention to the muscles on your characters' bodies, I just feel like there's something wrong with you. Especially if the rest of your style is super cartoony and the muscles are really realistic. If you like to draw 4 fingers instead of 5, you like simplicity in your life. And if you don't draw fingers at all, you're probably depressed. What your art says about you as a person, Part 4! Now we're getting into content. What do you draw and what does it say about you? Keep in mind I draw most of these things, so I'm mocking me as much as I'm mocking you. If you draw mermaids and fairies all the time, congratulations, Peter Pan, you never grew up. Now if you draw more mysterious fae or like sirens or something, ooh, you're getting a little spooky, you're getting a little edgy, but you're still a child. If you draw nothing but edgy hot demon boys or girls, wow, you're really laying on that wish fulfillment thick. If you draw a lot of superheroes, you were the kid who wanted to be the chosen one, and you wanted to get your magical powers when you turned 16, and you got really sad when you never got them. If you draw a lot of horror and gore, you're either not as cool as you think you are, or you have trauma! If you draw a lot of romance, I don't know how to describe you other than you're just a soft human being. And while this may seem contradictory, same thing goes if you just draw a lot of smut. You just want a lot of physical contact, don't you? If you have a lot of nature elements in your art, like mushrooms or flowers, you're just a sweetheart. I love you! Like for Part 5. What your art says about you as a person, Part 5. If you draw mostly landscapes, you long for adventure. If your art mostly focuses on surrealism, you are unsatisfied with the world you're living in right now and you'd rather live in a fake one. If you have like 500 OCs and you draw them all the time, you have either maniacally laughed and or violently cried because of something you did to your fictional characters. If you only draw animals or anthropomorphic animals, you're a furry. Did you need me to tell you this? If you like to draw vampires, you're either heartless or a hopeless romantic, no in between. If you draw aliens or robots, you hate humanity, but like in a chill way. If you draw a lot of dragons, you're low-key cool, but in a nerdy way. If you only draw girls, congratulations, you're not straight. But if you're a girl and you only draw guys, who hurt you? Do I need to fight them? And if you just draw normal human beings who aren't magical in any way, you might just be more mentally stable than the rest of us. Maybe. Probably not. Like for Part 6.